again. Today we are going to be learning how to add the suffix ly to the ends of words, and we're going to be learning how we might sometimes need to change the spelling of the root word that we start with. So let's have a look at these three words to start with. So here we've got the word glad, glad. If I change that to gladly, watch what happens. So I have just started with glad and I've added ly to make it gladly. Let's have a look at the next one. We have happy. If I want to change that to happily, watch what happens. Did you notice what happened? I changed the letter Y that was here into a letter I, and then I added my ly. Let's have a look at another word that also has a Y on the end of it. Let's sound this one out. What sound are we going to try for this letter first? O. D-O-Z-E, dozy. That doesn't make sense. So what other sound could we try for this one? We could try O. So let's try O. D-O-Z-E, dozy. Means you're a little bit sleepy. So if we change that from dozy to dozily, let's see what happens. Watch carefully. So the same thing has happened. We started with a Y here, I rubbed it out and I changed it to a letter I, and then I added ly. So when we add the suffix ly, there are two spelling rules that you have to remember. Most words are really easy. You just stick ly on the end. If your root word that you start with ends with a Y, like these two did a minute ago, you have to rub out the Y, change it to the letter I, and then add your suffix ly. So we've got two rules to remember. We're now going to play a little racing game. We're going to play Climb the Ladder. So we have two ladders here, and the ladders are both going from the ground to the top of the tree. We're going to sort some words. If the root word that we start with, we've just got to add ly on the end and not change anything at all, it's going to go on the no change ladder. So those are the really easy words where you just stick ly on the end. If your root word has got a Y on the end, you have got to change that Y to I before you add your suffix. So that will go on this ladder where it says change the Y to I. So to make the game a little bit more fun, you are going to choose a ladder. You have got to decide which ladder you think is going to get you to the top of that tree first. So decide which ladder you're going to choose as your ladder. Right, give me a cheer if this is the ladder you want. Give me a cheer if this is the ladder that you want. Has everyone chosen a ladder? Let's just double check. Give me a cheer if you want this ladder. And give me a cheer if you want this ladder. Right, let's look at our first word. Let's sound this one out. You try. And with me, bright, bright. So we're going to change that from bright to brightly. So can you show me by pointing to the screen if you think there's going to be no change to that word and we just stick ly on the end? Can you point to this ladder? If you think we have got to change the Y to I, can you point to this ladder? Right, let's see if you were right. There is no Y on the end of that word, so I can't change it. This is going to be a no change one. This is an easy one. We just do bright and then we add ly and we have brightly. So give me a cheer if that was the ladder that you chose. You've got your first word. Let's look at the next one. You sound it out for me. And with me, lucky, lucky. So decide how we're going to spell when we change it to luckily. If you think there's going to be no change, point to this ladder. If you think we've got to change the Y to I, point to this ladder. Off you go. Let's see if you were right. We have a Y on the end, so we have got to change that Y into an I, and then we have to add L-Y afterwards. So that's going to go on this ladder. If that was the ladder you chose, give me a cheer. It's 1-1, one on each ladder at the moment. Let's look at the next word. This is a long one, so we need to split it up. You have a go. So if you think there's going to be no change to that root word and we're just going to put ly on the end, point to this ladder. If you think we have got to change the y to I, point to this ladder. Let's see if you were right. There's no y on the end, so that's going to be one of the easy ones. We just add ly to make foolishly. Foolishly. That's going on that ladder. Give me a cheer if that was your ladder. Let's look at the next word. What sound are we trying for this one first? Off you go. Might need to try that one again. And with me, l-a-z-e, lazzy. That doesn't make sense. Let's go back and try that one as a. L-a-z-e, lazy. So if you think lazy, we're just going to stick ly on the end to make lazy-ly. Point to this ladder. If you think we have to change y to I and then add our suffix, point to this ladder. Let's see if you're right. There is a y on the end, so we have to change that y to I, and then we add ly. So that makes it lazily, lazily. If you do something lazily. Give me a cheer if that's your ladder. So that's 2-2 at the moment. Let's see what we're going to get next. You sound this one out for me. And with me, sleep, sleepy. So point to this ladder if you think we leave that root word alone and just add ly. Point to this ladder if you think we need to change the y to an I first. Let's see if you're right. We have a y at the end of this word, so we need to change the y to I. So we need to change that y to I, and then we add ly, sleep-ily, sleepily. Give me a cheer if that was your ladder. Let's look at the next one. You sound it out for me. And with me, quick, quick. So point to this ladder if you think we're just going to put ly on the end to make quickly. Point to this ladder if you think we need to change the y to I before we add ly. Let's see if you're right. We haven't got a y on the end to change, so this is an easy one. We just add ly to make quickly, and that goes on this ladder. Give me a cheer if that's your ladder. So it's 3-3 at the moment. Let's see who gets the next one. You sound this one out for me. And with me, near. So point to this ladder if you think we just add ly to make nearly. Point to this ladder if you think we need to change the y to I. Let's see if you're right. There is no y, so we're just going to add ly on the end to make near. Ly, nearly. And that goes on there. Give me a cheer if that's your ladder. Let's see who's going to get the next one. You sound it out for me. Oops, let's move that up there a bit. And with me, greedy, greedy. So point to this ladder if you think we're just going to add ly to make greedily. Point to this ladder if you think we need to change the y to I before we add our suffix. Let's see if you're right. We have a y here, so we need to change that y to I. I'm going to do it up above this time. And then we put lee on the end. So now we've got greedily, greedily. Give me a cheer if that's your ladder. Right. Who's going to get the winning word, I wonder? Let's sound it out. And with me, bad, bad. Point to the ladder that you think that word is going to go on. And then we'll see if you're right. Right, there is no Y on the end, so I can't change the Y to I. This will be one of the easy ones. So if we want to change bad to bad, lee, we just put lee on the end. Give me a cheer if that's your ladder. And you have won the race. Well done. So when you're trying to spell a word and you can hear that it's got lee on the end, think which spelling rule you need to use to help you to spell that word correctly.